Hello, welcome to another little Thursday morning thought. And today, rather than something around tech, something around brainstorming, generating ideas. Yesterday, I was with a number of colleagues and we had a gathering thinking about how we can support one another, the things that we can do together around our congregations. And we did a bit of brainstorming. Now, have you ever been in a brainstorming context and it really hasn't gone very well? One of the things that often happens is that some um, louder, outgoing person with lots to say chips in something first, and then other folk are saying, "Oh, my idea is nothing like as good as his." But yeah, that's a good idea. We'll run with that, and we don't push things any further than that. Last year, I attended a really brilliant 4-day course on solution focused thinking. And one of the things, a very simple idea, but really quite incredible in the way that it helps to generate ideas, was something that I tried with the group yesterday. And it was quite simply to take a piece of paper, write down 1 to 10 down the left hand side, 11 to 20 down the middle of the page, and I gave folk 10 minutes, come up with 20 ideas, things we might do together, and encourage them not to overthink anything. If some bizarre thought comes in, just write it down and move on. Focus on generating the ideas. So after 10 minutes, some folk had their 20 ideas and others 15, 17, whatever. And then I asked folk to share some of the really outlandish ideas that they had come up with. Just a wee bit of fun. But it also meant that folk were hearing some of the things that folk were saying. And it was maybe thinking, well, actually, that's not quite so stupid. And it maybe sparked some other thoughts. So I then invited folk to write down the numbers 21 to 30 and gave them another 5 minutes to continue the task. I obviously wasn't very clear in explaining that because the folk who had stopped at number 17 or whatever then started at 21. You would start off from wherever you got to, but now trying to push the number of ideas to 30. And after that 5 minutes, we went round the room and I asked everyone to say how many ideas they had. Sorry, I've missed out an important part. Right, after the additional 5 minutes to get to aiming towards 30 ideas, I then asked everyone to take a moment to think on the 5 things that they thought of that they would want to take some more time to explore and to look towards implementing. 5 priorities, 5 things to explore further. So folk then end up with a list of up to 30 things. One person actually got to 32. Then we went round the room and I asked everyone to say 2 numbers, how many ideas they came up with, and the highest number of the circled idea. So if you came up with 5 priorities, number 3, number 17, number 22, 24, and 29, then 29 is the highest number of the priority ideas. I hope I explained that better than I did yesterday. And then asked folk to share any thoughts on the process. And what that process demonstrates is A, that it takes time to generate ideas, and we need to give the process time. But really interestingly, that the good ideas that folk want to explore further, there might be some of them in the first 3, 5 ideas that folk came up with. But generally, they're further on in the list. And many folk were saying, oh, I had 17 ideas, and number 17 was one that I want to think on some more. We need to take time to generate ideas without any judgment at all, no butting in and saying, oh, that would never work. We then shared around the room, each person taking one of their priority ideas, and then we opened that up a bit. But it's so important that we give folk the individual space to hear what they're thinking and to express something. To give the more introverted folk who need that headspace themselves, that space, and not to allow the dominant voices to dominate. So with 25 folk in the room and folk getting somewhere between 20 and 30 ideas, there's 200 ideas. Now, some of them will be totally off the wall, but it might help spark some other thoughts. Something maybe to try next time we're brainstorming around an idea, some questions. How do we engage younger folk in the life of the church? How will we make Holy Week and Easter a really good experience for lots of folk? Another wee idea that I have sometimes called Nimrod's Nyarv. It's not a Gaelic phrase. Nimrod's Nyarv. That's spelt with a silent G. It's brainstorming backwards. Nimrod's Nyarv. And sometimes, maybe particularly around the church, there is a kind of bias towards all the negative thought. So why not build on that and ask folk, what would we do to ensure that Christmas is really a dreadful experience for folk this year? Something that I did with some of my office bearers a number of years ago, preparing for Advent and Christmas. And it becomes a bit of fun, and folk come up with all sorts of ideas, put the wrong date on the publicity. Someone said, hide the minister's iPad. Come up with all the things that will ensure that something goes really badly. And that's a fun conversation that folk are much more willing, perhaps, to engage in. And then you can flip all these things around and turn it into, well, how do we ensure that the publicity is really good? How do we ensure that we you're creating a warm, comfortable environment for folk? How do we maximise the use of technology and engaging as many folk as possible in as many different ways? So it's important that we generate good ideas and the bad ideas. And I think we need to get away from this idea that something that doesn't work is a complete failure. Fail, F-A-I-L, first attempt in learning. We learn, we grow. Something is either a success or it helps us towards another success. So some thoughts there around generating ideas. We talk about the need to be innovative, and we need to take time to generate the ideas that might work. They might not. We've got to try and learn through all these experiences. Hope you found that helpful. If you are watching live just now, do pop something in the comments. If you are watching the recording, still pop something in the comments, and we'll pick up on these things in future conversations. www.itsforministry.org is the website, and keep the conversations going in the Facebook group. Thank you. Thank you for sharing in this today. God bless you all.